How's it going, peeps? Welcome back to Viva La Coin. I am Joe. I will be your host for today's episode. And sorry about the delay on getting this one out. My power went out in the middle of the day yesterday, which, go figure, there was no storms. It was beautiful outside, and all the motorcycles were fucking up my recording anyway. It sounded like I was filming in the middle of a Sturgis motorcycle rally, and yet the power cut out in the middle, the lights went down, and everything shut off. So now we're back today to try and bring this news to you, to try and explain what's going on as we approach the end of the month of April. Why do we still have people that are incredibly afraid of the market just tanking back to zero? What more or less realistically is going to happen moving forward? And just an unbiased look at some of the other things that occurred, whether it was Tesla selling some of their Bitcoin, some of the bankers flipping their script, whether becoming more bullish on Bitcoin or pretending to be bearish on Bitcoin. And then one final big announcement that came out about Cardano and the country of Ethiopia and the partnership that they're going to be working on through the Ministry of Education over there. So if you have any questions, any comments, any concerns, or if you just want to say hi, leave a comment down below. And if you could, share this video to anyone else that may want to see it and leave a like on it, help with the algorithm, even though we have about 200 people here that follow the channel. But let's get it out to more people. I think that it can help. And let's just go ahead and dive in. I'm not going to talk too much specifically about Bitcoin's price at the moment. I feel like we could just find ourselves having the same conversation 15 times about the last couple days. I said in my previous couple videos that I thought the market was going to drop down to around that 47K mark, 47.5, 47K, which that's where a lot of institutions bought previously to shake a lot of the weak hands out. We've been green for 6 months in a row now, closing out the months. And Bitcoin has never had a 7th month in a row where it ends on the side of, positive green candles. So that's okay. This cool down period, resetting the fear and greed index and all those other metrics I was showing you, this is actually better for the run in total. So I'm not going to go too much into price. However, in one of my upcoming videos, I'm actually going to work on that today as well. I'm going to talk about what I purchased during the dip, right around that 47K level, and why I think that those specific cryptocurrencies are big in my books and some of the things that I'm looking at there. Now, as we go through these stories, if you have any particular questions on it, or even if you have a counterpoint to make, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm right about everything. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not an oracle. I'm not a wizard. I am none of those things, nor do I run the behind the scenes Illuminati global banking infrastructure. I'm always happy to listen to counterpoints or anything else that people want to bring up. So ultimately, this is just to educate everyone and try and give a middle of the road, what I think is going on opinion. So it came out earlier this week, actually I believe on Sunday morning, I guess going into Monday morning, it was announced that Tesla did sell some of their Bitcoin for a profit. And this was way bigger news than it should have been. Everyone shit a brick because they were like, oh my God, see, look, Tesla pumped it up and now he's selling it and dumping his bags onto you. However, they bought $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin a couple months ago. Now, I'm going to talk about how much they currently hold. But when I say in all my videos, you, the individual, me, the individual, when you make a certain amount of profit on the things that you invest in, you want to take some of that out. Not only can you reinvest it should the market dip or take a downturn for a period of time, but nothing goes up in a straight line forever. And that includes arguably one of the most volatile markets in the history of mankind in cryptocurrency. So I have no problem with him taking profit. He didn't say I'm never going to buy it back. Actually, when he was asked about it, his official title that he tried to submit over to the SEC, I believe, is Techno King. And then his CFO is the Master of Coin. But they said it won't become a habit. So the SEC could take a hard look at Bitcoin transactions when Tesla files its quarterly statements after a $101 million profit from a sale of the digital asset. Tesla reported its seventh consecutive quarter of profits on Monday. And like every profit total before, it was outstripped by all the profit regulatory credit sales. So, more or less, if you follow anything in the normal market and everyone talking about Tesla, there's always this balance between Tesla is horribly overvalued for the amount of cars or things that they produce to be listed as one of the top 10, top 15 largest or largest by market cap companies on the planet. And then everyone else is like, oh, well, they're investing in their potential. It could have to do with the energy sector. Maybe it's about automation. But right now, if you look at their technicals, if I were a financial advisor, their car sales aren't really justifying their total stock price. So you have that constant argument. So people are saying, well, he bought Bitcoin just so that he could pump it up and then dump it. So what Tesla did is they're like, hey, we want to fill in some of that gap, take some of the profit and put it back into Tesla as a company. So Tesla said it sold about 10% of its Bitcoin holdings a couple months after buying about $1.5 billion of the digital asset in January. The sale came after Chief Executive Elon Musk's Twitter boostrum of Bitcoin, which helped fuel a rapid price rise. So I'm going to clarify this right now. Bitcoin was going to go up regardless. Elon Musk obviously has some effect on the market in anything that he says or does, and you see that in Doge and everything else. But that still doesn't change the overall stock to flow model or where it was going. Where it did benefit everyone is I think that it woke everyone else up and they were like, holy shit, like we're starting to hit that point of adoption of institutions beyond a company that many people maybe didn't recognize by the name and MicroStrategy that started all this back in the fall. So it really had a big effect on the market for that case. But then again, if everyone looks at it, in my opinion, Elon Musk is the most important person on the planet. He's trying to solve large problems that have to do with not only our habitat and interplanetary colonization and automation, whatever it might be. Plus Neuralink, you could stick a fucking computer in the back of my head and fix a bunch of shit or connect me to a computer. Sure, okay, you know what? I'm going to say that he has some influence in the decisions that he makes. But you can't tell me that the smartest person on the planet is making dumb decisions out in the open for everyone because he doesn't understand what he's doing. And that's exactly who was trying to contest that. And I'll break that down in a second. But so far, it has proven to be a good decision, a good place to take some of our cash that's not immediately being used in day-to-day operation, referring to putting it into Bitcoin, says Kirkcoin, Tesla's quote-unquote master of coin. And Dave Portnoy from Barstool Sports, who I like personally in the things that he does because he's very normal way of doing things. But he said, so am I understanding this correctly? Elon Musk buys Bitcoin, then he pumps it, it goes up, then he dumps it, makes a fortune. Listen, I own one Bitcoin, is what Portnoy said. But Bitcoin is exactly what we thought it was. Just don't be the last one holding the bag. And Elon Musk responded to him, I don't know why you're taking the attention away from the smartest man on the planet to discuss this, but he said, no, you do not. I have not sold any of my Bitcoin. Tesla sold 10% of its holdings essentially to prove liquidity of Bitcoin as an alternative to holding cash on a balance sheet. So that says two things. One, it was effective being used as a store of value. And secondly, Elon Musk just admitted he owns Bitcoin. It was never really disclosed that he had any. So he said, I've not sold any of my Bitcoin. Being the smartest person on the planet, Tesla sold 10% of theirs. And Dave Portnoy, who purchased Bitcoin back when it was closer to $20,000, it dumped like $1,000 and he sold it almost immediately. And now he bought back one Bitcoin at $48,000. Pay attention to who's giving you their news. And in order to buy that, he also dumped his Doge position as well. So don't get your financial advice about cryptocurrency from Barstool Sports. I still love them for what they do. And Portnoy obviously does well in the traditional stock market, but he does not understand cryptocurrency. So now Tesla is sitting on $2.5 billion worth of Bitcoin. So even with selling 10% of their Bitcoin holding, they are up still $1 billion from when they purchased it. I find it very difficult to argue against this being a better store of value than just sitting around and holding that cash in your account, which would have done nothing up to this point. And plus, he's just very smart when it comes to marketing and trying to get people to buy Teslas with Bitcoin so that they can hold it without converting it. But that we covered that in a separate story. But I view this as a good thing, not a bad thing. These companies are not hodlers, they are business and corporate entities that have their shareholders and their market caps and everything else in their production and liquidity in mind. They're going to take profits when they need to keep things going. I'm perfectly fine with this. But let's go ahead and pivot to what the banks are doing, right? Because banks tend to flip-flop a lot. And you'll see some of them come out like Guggenheim when they're saying, oh, I think the price of Bitcoin could go to $400,000. And then it drops a little bit. They're like, oh, never mind, it's going to 20,000. And then you find out they bought $500 million worth of Bitcoin. And then they're like, oh, never mind, it could go back up to 600,000. They're just trying to play into their own narrative to collect more and more of it. But let's go back to my favorite individual in the banking space, Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan. I actually had to screenshot this page because of all this bullshit market insider garbage at the top with all the stocks. It was freezing up my computer. But when we look at what JP Morgan just announced, JP Morgan is preparing to roll out its first Bitcoin fund for wealthy clients. And that story was on CoinDesk. They cover a lot of the main news that comes out. And it's funny that it's for their wealthy clients because remember, you're not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to buy the future possible reserve of the globe. You're not supposed to be owning these things. It's only for the rich because if they don't own it and hold it over your head, how are they supposed to control you? So they are now going to offer it to their wealthy clients. And the fund is set to launch in the summer and is said to be actively managed once it goes live. The bank recently said liquidity in Bitcoin should recover quickly after this price drop. So they're gearing up and they're buying it behind the scenes. And most people that have been in crypto for a while and understand that their words don't mean shit, it's their actions behind the scenes. They've likely probably been either preparing to buy or have been buying for a while to incorporate this for their clients. But God forbid you find out or you buy it for yourself. That's a big no-no. So let me X out of this and let's go back to Jamie Dimon. So that same guy, JP Morgan, he's in charge of a lot of their decisions. I've mentioned what he said about Bitcoin in the past, but just to quote him, and I'm going to read it off even if you can't see it. Some of Dimon's Bitcoin quotes include, if you're stupid enough to buy it, you'll pay the price for it one day. And he said that back in 2017. He said, Bitcoin's worse than tulip bulbs. And he's referring to the old tulip bubble from centuries ago because we can only think in historical medieval context when it comes to new cutting edge cryptography. It won't end well. Someone is going to get killed. And by killed, he just means buried under, being the last one holding that bag. It's Bitcoin. It's just not a real thing. Eventually, it will be closed. I'm not saying go short Bitcoin or sell $100,000 of it before it goes down. And he was like, that's, not my advice. My daughter bought Bitcoin and it went up and now she thinks she's a genius. I'm guessing that the conversations in that family have to be hilarious over the course of the past couple weeks because she made the better decision. And now he has to swallow his own pride and offer it to his wealthy clients. They're not going to offer it to you until it is completely unaffordable, until there's no way that you could go out and even get a measurable portion of it. Then you're going to walk into the bank and it's going to be 2027 and they're going to say, hey, have you added Bitcoin into your wallet here? Invest in $100 of your US dollars into Bitcoin and we'll manage it for you. That's when they're going to start offering it to you, not when you can actually buy it at pennies on the dollar to what it is intended to do in the future. So just wanted to point that out because at the same time, you see Goldman, Sachs flip-flopping. So Goldman sees flaws with Bitcoin, says it's too early to say it will replace gold. So Goldman Sachs is all excited and trying to set up their trading desk for their wealthy clients as well. They didn't say we're not going to offer it. They didn't say our wealthy clients can go find somewhere else. They're just telling you in the news in CNBC We don't know when it will. Yes, they do. But can't read the whole article, but just the top of it. The recent deflation in Bitcoin has reinforced concerns about the cryptocurrency's bid to become a long-term store of value, according to Goldman Sachs' top commodity strategist. If they had a top commodity strategist and they paid attention to Bitcoin at all, they would have made billions upon billions of dollars in it. So I would fire that person. Bitcoin climbed above $63,000 earlier this month, capping a dramatic rise starting in October that was fueled by increased adoption from financial firms and other companies, including Tesla. No, it was fueled by the halvening. It was fueled by supply and demand, and institutions then responded to that. So you have to look at why the institutions even got in. If it was fueled by the institutions, then okay, that's a completely unfounded bubble and it doesn't make sense. It is the supply and demand and the actual functional store of value that has them jumping in, and now you and all your banking buddies and everyone else jumping in because you don't have a fucking choice, because if you don't, you're going to be left out of the party with your, boohoo bags of US dollars that are going to be able to afford you nothing. Now, at the same time, while this is coming out, what are their other friends doing? So US Bank, which is the fifth largest bank, I believe, in the United States, to offer custody service for your digital assets. First of all, don't allow any bank to custody anything for you. Cryptocurrency, you are your own bank. Purchase it yourself. Do not do it through them. So US Bancorp has announced a series of moves designed to meet clients' growing demand for cryptocurrency services. Now, when they say clients, they're not talking about you and your family and your friends. They're talking about the million and billion dollar clients that they have that are like, why the fuck can't we buy this from you? I don't have the time nor the risk, sensitivity to go in and just go and do this. So why can't you do it for me? Well, now they are rolling out new custody products for managing crypto assets, and they've invested in asset tokenization from Securrency, which has been chosen to administer the New York DIGS Bitcoin Exchange Traded Fund this year, pending regulatory approvals. Again, this is not to just say like, oh, they're all doing the same thing, and here's the FUD, and here's the bullshit, and here's what's real. I'm trying to clarify something very important, is that you're going to be told one thing and everyone else is going to do another. Whether it is in finance, economics, the government, everything else, everyone's always pissed because they're like, why is everything getting worse and nothing is getting done? And yet all these people have all these great plans and policies and infrastructure things we're going to fix. It's because they just say things and everyone goes, oh, okay, I have the brain of a goldfish and I forgot all the other bullshit that just occurred 3 seconds ago. So I'll believe you this time for the first time in 5 decades. And we just keep kicking that can down the road and giving them the power to do nothing aside from benefit themselves. And in the meantime, while the banks are setting everything up, other massive companies like this video game company in China, Nexon, purchased $100 million worth of Bitcoin. I wonder if they didn't have the time to see Goldman Sachs strategist new fear about Bitcoin. Let me tell you, they don't give a fuck. They don't care because they understand where this is heading in the long run. The short-term volatility does not scare them away because any asset or anything that gains any type of value, it goes through a period of volatility and it has to settle. And you have to figure out who is willing to hold it and who's going to get shaken out. That is just a part of this entire endeavor. So they understand it, and companies like PayPal that offer it, they're swimming in it right now. They're killing all these traditional institutions that aren't incorporating it. And the CEO of the payments giant PayPal, Dan Schulman, has revealed that the demand for cryptocurrencies has been multiple-fold of his company's initial expectations. PayPal's Venmo recently began rolling out cryptocurrency features to enable Venmo users to buy, sell, and hold cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin. And those companies are going to continue to prosper. And every other bank and every other person that said, oh, it's worse than tulips, it's a bubble, they are trying to catch up. So if they dump the price, if they push it down, if they put out negative sentiment, doesn't mean they're not offering it to people behind the scenes. And then we look at the futures that expire this upcoming Friday. So again, over $4 billion worth of Bitcoin options set to expire Friday. We've seen this happen at the end of the previous 3 months, January, February, and March. We had a swift downturn in order to meet their bullshit price predictions, because no one wants to lose more money than they're already losing. So Bitcoin options are set to expire Friday. 77,000 BTC worth of derivatives and contracts out there. People betting on a bunch of shit that they don't really understand. But if we look at where the bulk of these bigger price ranges are, 48, 50, 52, minus the one outlier, or probably people that understand it, around 80K. Most of these option calls and puts are around that 48 to 54 range. Where have we been idling? Why have we been idling here? It is because people behind the scenes are manipulating the price and painting the charts in order to not lose more money before things move up so they can change their position or acquire more. That is why you can only rely so much on technical analysis and fundamental analysis until you're going to be absolutely wrecked. Because if you were looking at the charts, let's say on Sunday, everyone said, yep, bear market's here, everything's fucked, we're just going to plummet straight into the ground. Because look at the technicals, look at the volume, look at this and that. It doesn't fucking matter. They would love it if everyone else sold. Luckily, there are enough strong hands and big whales that have been in crypto for a while that understand it, and they're not going to dump their shit based on this. However, if you're just looking at the charts and you treat it like traditional centralized finance, you're going to get burned, or at least you're going to cut yourself short. So just all things to keep in mind. Do I think that we're going to see like a flash crash before Friday? No. I still think that 47K level is fine. And ultimately, I put out a tweet. I was just saying, can we just drop to 41 just real quick, just rip the Band-Aid off and just scare everyone else out so that we can get this shit over with and start moving upward again? Because that's all this is. It's consolidation and getting weak hands out of the market. So that's all the main news as far as banking goes and the pricing goes and some of the things to expect towards the end of April. The last thing I want to cover, and I know I've been talking a little bit longer, and it's a little bit longer of a video, I'm trying to catch everyone up, is just real quickly touch on the new partnership with Cardano and the Ethiopian government. So I mentioned this a couple months ago that Cardano was looking to become the blockchain of the entire continent of Africa. And I saw a tweet after post after message of everyone else in crypto that doesn't like Cardano saying they don't even have smart contracts, they have no functionality. Well, at the end of March, they became 100% decentralized because everyone is staking the network. So it is already to a place, network-wise, staking-wise, that Ethereum is not, which is what's causing Ethereum's problems. So, okay, they don't have smart contracts, but then again, back in the 90s, no one had fucking Wi-Fi. You have to set up these things to work properly before you just go out and try and implement an entire blockchain system for full countries, let alone a continent. So IOHK, which is Input-Output Hong Kong, the company that works with Cardano, partners with Ethiopian government for student IDs on Cardano blockchain. So I'm going to try and give just a very brief synopsis. So IOHK, the blockchain research and development company behind Cardano, announced today a partnership with the Ethiopian government to implement a national blockchain-based student and teacher ID and attainment record system to digitally verify grades, remotely monitor school performance, and boost education and employment nationwide. So that will include 3,500 schools, 5 million, with an M, 5 million students, and 750,000 teachers to pinpoint the locations and causes of educational underachievement and allocate educational resources effectively. I want you to understand how many users on a network 5 million students is. If you go on Ethereum and look up how many wallets are active or how many transactions they do not have that many people utilizing the network in that type of way. And the fact that Cardano is already staked, it's quick, it's affordable and ready to go, all they have to do is have this Alonzo hard fork come up that enables the smart contracts, which are all your different decentralized applications and payment methods and lending and borrowing apps and ID stuff. And their new Oracle C3 was just launched yesterday on Uniswap, which I'll be talking about in my next video. But when you look at the scale of this and what they're doing, and then go back and think about everyone's view of blockchain in general, Goldman saying, oh, it's too weak, it's fluctuating. Jamie Dimon, it's a bunch of bullshit. Or even the people with validity that are saying, hey, soon enough we're going to enter into a bear market and things are going to completely dump. Okay, take that with a grain of salt, in my opinion, because what I'm thinking is if you roll this out, and let's say Cardano is successful, because again, can't see the future. My crystal ball was left somewhere and I can't seem to find it. But if they do this successfully, you're going to have 5 million users relying on this system in one country alone that will be easily able to be replicated and expanded to other governments that are willing to accept this to help bolster their population, predominantly in an area where the rest of the world has just written it off as a third world area. I think that if the bear market comes, cryptos like that have a use case, that have users, that do something in the real world to benefit others, are going to continue to thrive and succeed. Yes, you're going to see a pullback. Yes, you're going to see fear in the market. And almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, there may even be levels that we drop to just for the sake of dropping to them and scaring other people out. But this is the start of global adoption for blockchain. And I refuse, at least personally, in my own life, to be shook out of a market when, with the proper research, with digging a little bit deeper and understanding what's going on, you recognize that for once you can hold the keys to your own financial freedom without even having to store them with someone else that's going to nickel and dime away your life savings or your pension or whatever else you rely on for these systems to give back to you or to allow you to have access to, or even allow you to participate in the first place. So hopefully this information and some of this news helps to clarify where we're at the moment. No crazy price action. I'm not going to sit here and shill a bunch of cryptos. I'm not going to talk about what I bought during the dip until my next one, because fundamentally, I think it's important that we understand why we are where we are, why we hit that dip, why we're in this holding pattern, what I think will happen next. And I think that once we hit that next gear, we may shake out a little bit more at the end of this month prior to options. Bitcoin having its dominance drop below 50%. At this point, it was down to 49.9%. It may even stall out for the entire month of May. And then some alts will run, or maybe the whole market is stagnant for a month. Those are all possibilities. But what I believe is not a possibility is we collapse below $20,000 per Bitcoin, the whole market goes away. Because I'm following the actual data and stock to flow and the sentiment of what all these large companies and institutions and populations are actually doing behind the scenes, as opposed to what they're saying. Aside from that, I am honored that you joined me on this episode of Viva La Coin. Again, please like and share the video. And as always, I will catch you guys next time.